Hey guys, I just finished a novel called I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer, last night actually, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it. This book is a nonfiction book. It's like one that I haven't reviewed for you guys before, so this is a little bit different. So when I usually say I'm going to give you guys a spoiler-free review, it seems really weird to say that a nonfiction book would have spoilers because it is something that's already happened. As a matter of fact, recent events from the Golden State Killer have been all over the news and the headlines lately because he just did plead guilty to 13 murders and numerous rapes. And so to say that something is spoiler free just sounds really weird when you're talking about something that's nonfiction. So as I go through the review, I'm not going to give you guys a whole bunch of detail, but I am going to assume that you are at least somewhat knowledgeable of the case because that is not really what this book is about. So just that being said, then I'll move right along. Okay, so what I just went over will become a little bit more clear to you as I go through the actual review. This book was written by Michelle McNamara, who did a lot of the investigative research and the interviews and just kind of compiling all this information together. However, she actually passed away in 2016. So 2 years before Joseph DeAngelo, who we now know is the Golden State Killer, was actually captured. So what happened was somebody actually took all of her notes and all of the case files and artifacts and put them together and pieced the novel together. So as you read it, you're going to see a lot of editor's notes that tell you, you know, this is where this was, or here's where she was in this process of the writing. But she wrote most of it and then somebody else came after the fact and pieced it together. That being said, this novel really is a bittersweet experience to go through as a reader because one, you're reading about real people and what really happened to them. So to say that it is a source of our entertainment or a pastime is, you know, somewhat insensitive to say. So for the actual storyline, this book is a little bit of part memoir where the author or Michelle McNamara tells you about her obsession and where it stemmed from and just all of the work she would do and how everything was just so detailed and organized, and she was very meticulous about her journalism and making sure that she did it right and how much she wanted to capture, or she wanted this guy to be captured. She was literally obsessed with him. So you get some of her story as the investigator author, and then you also get the narratives for a lot of the victims that Joseph DeAngelo either raped or murdered. My likes: this particular novel I did listen to on audio, and it is one that I would recommend for many reasons. And then there's also one reason why I would say maybe the book would be better for this part. But the audio, the narrator was just, the storytelling was engaging, it was gripping, it kept you on the edge of your seat. Her voice was really enjoyable to listen to. So I really did enjoy that part. There's also a foreword by Gillian Flynn, and if you guys don't know who that is, she is a fiction true crime writer. She was an avid reader of Michelle McNamara's blog, which was called True Crime Diary, and so she would read a lot of that. So she was a big fan of the author, so she actually read a foreword, and then at the end of the novel, her husband Patton Oswalt, who's a comedian, does an afterword where he talks about her and how she would have loved to see justice, and that is also just really good to hear those things from those two voices. So the audio, highly recommend. I briefly mentioned that the style in which the story is delivered is done with so much empathy. They do give you a lot of detail, but it's not in a way that's going to be disrespectful to the victims. They don't give you a lot of gore. They give you specifics as far as time, but more importantly, they give you specifics about the victims. This is a very victim-centered storytelling approach where we focus less on who the actual perpetrator is and more on the victims and their stories and who they are, and not so much the gory details of the crimes that were committed against them. So I really did appreciate that in this novel as well. My only con, and this might be more for the audio, is that sometimes it was a little hard to follow. And that could be for a couple of reasons. One being that we are going through this process as an armchair detective and a web sleuth right along with Michelle McNamara. And at the time of her writing this, she had no idea who the Golden State Killer was. And so sometimes it's the storytelling kind of jumped around a bit. So when they're talking about different regions of California, it's not done in necessarily a chronological order. And sometimes there's a lot of questions like, this happened, this happened, this happened, and that leads us to believe that he might have been this profession, and they talk a little bit about that. But because they don't know who it was at the time, there is no actual fact-based storytelling there, or facts that are for sure, because they don't know. So there's some speculation that causes the storytelling to kind of jump around because a lot of it is just an educated guess. So sometimes it was a little bit hard to follow. But the audio does also come with a PDF that you can access so that you can see maps and whatnot. But if you do actually check out or purchase the physical copy of the book, you will get some pictures. But because these are actual real people that we're talking about here, you can also find all of these pictures and such on the internet with a simple search as well. So finally, for those of you that are true crime fans, this is right up your alley, but it's a slower experience. So I must warn you, as a trigger, it's a little scary. So as I was reading this, sometimes I would get a little bit paranoid and get up and go make sure that my doors were locked multiple times. Make sure that, you know, when I'm going out to feed my dog, kind of look around, make sure nobody's watching me. And, you know, so it gets a little bit scary. You get a little bit more paranoid or more aware of your surroundings as you go through this novel. So I do want to give you a heads up if you are somebody that scares easily, especially because this is a retelling of true events. But other than that, I really gave this 5 stars. And if you are a true crime junkie like myself, you will really enjoy this novel as well. If not, then I hope you pick up something great and you're reading something and enjoying it. So thanks for hanging out with me for a bit, and we will see you next time. Bye.